You allow me to get back to the first question, the question from before the break, Stefan?
Yes, of course. I think that's an interesting question.
Yeah, the copying of objects. It is pretty simple, but there are some things, and I've tried it because it didn't work as I expected. I've tried it with two small objects, or two small data sets. For example, this one. I've made two layers. I've set up a geopackage called test geopackage, and I've got one layer that says vlak 2 and one says vlak 1, or the polygon 1, polygon 2. And here, as you can see, this one has 3 objects, and I've just been, drawing an object, and I said, okay, I want to copy this object to the other area. And that is pretty simple, because the thing what you do is you select it, you make sure they're both editable. I'm not sure if this one should be editable, but in this case I've got them both editable. And I copy the features using copy features tab. And in this case I paste features, and it is successfully pasted. And that means that, as you can see now, let's deselect everything. This was my polygon 1 layer, this polygon 2. So this one includes the new polygon now as well. So this one, it works pretty easy using copy features and paste features. However, it didn't work earlier. And let's have a look at that. In this case, I've copied, right. There's water here, and I wanted to copy that. So, for example, let's select another part of water here. So I'm selecting water. Oh yeah, and this is of course again in the group layer, so I should refresh it a bit. So I've selected this one. I can copy these features. This is not editable layer, but I can copy the features. And if I copy these into, for example, this layer again, as you can see, I tried one already. And if I paste it into this layer, you can just do paste features, and there it is, successfully pasted. I deselect everything, and you can see it is in this layer. So that works. However, if I want to copy it into, for example, buildings, and you see here's the buildings layer, and if I want to copy it into that layer, it's editable, so it should be, and I can copy it in there as well. That works too. So now it's also a building. Now, if I want to copy it into a road, exactly the same object again, I start editing here. It's all editing. And if now you can see the paste features option is grayed out. I can just paste it as a new vector layer or temporary layer. So there is something going on, and it might be that if I take this one out of the group layer, now it's out of the group layer. Let's see, now I can paste it. So the group layer function was blocking somewhere the pasting of features. So you can copy paste data. And of course, this one is now totally wrong, but it is copied and pasted. And why is this wrong? Well, for example, if you look at the, this is roads, of course, and there's a water object now in the roads. That means that all the fields are going totally wrong, of course. Let's see how the original looked in the water. It looked like this, and it has a class waterloop. Okay, so how does it look within a road? And you can see there's a lot of things like function and surface material and everything, but there is no class in here. So the fields that are the same in the two layers are copied, but the fields that differ, they have different field names. These, well, they cannot be copied. So yes, you can. Geometry-wise, it goes okay. As long as the fields have the same name, it also goes okay. As soon as you have mixed table settings, things go astray.
Mhm. But that's good, I think, because otherwise your table would grow. I mean,
Yeah.
if you combine, so to copy it with all the aspects, all the columns, you have to merge the layers.
True. Yeah.
And the question is, of course, what happens if you copy it to FLAC 1 or FLAC 2?
Yeah.
If because that's an empty table, what does it copy if you do it there? Does it copy all the aspects, or is it only the geometry?
Well, let's have a look. I can also find it in. I did. Oh, I should put it in FLAC 2 as well. Yeah.
FLAC 2, yeah.
Now it's in FLAC 2, and that means that there's an empty data.
Exactly. Yeah.
The table
So my question would be, how can you copy the object, including all the aspects of it?
Yeah. Well, if you want to copy the object with all the aspects, what you could do, of course, is you could paste features as a new vector layer or as a temporary scratch layer, and then you get all the objects with it.
Exactly.
So if you make a new layer, and I just call that pasted, whatever, and I look at it here, and it's in pasted. There it is. Mm-hmm. There you see all the fields, including the class is Waterloop.
Exactly. And that's an important difference.
Yep.
So if you paste it in an existing layer, only the existing fields will be filled if they have the same name. And if you paste it in a new layer, then you have your original information there.
So, Stefan, so I hope I answered the question up to standard now, finally, after 10 minutes of clicking and trying. Yep.
Okay. Was the question of Stamatis answered about the coordinates in Google Maps and QGIS?
Yep. Using what's the thing called? Web service.
Web service. Yeah.
The quick map services, Google.
Exactly.
Yeah. By the way, if you use quick map services and you only have a few layers here, that is the default setting. There's in the settings for this plugin, there's the more services tab that gives you a warning that there's a quite other that you should be careful. They're not in any way checked or whatever. And yes, of course, get contributed back. Who cares about checking? Let's do this. Yeah. So now I have the most recent, where it is here. This is the most recent list now.
Okay. And this is available because you have activated plugins. And most things we see on your screen depend, of course, on the plugins you have activated.
Yep.
Can you also say what are the most important plugins you really need to use to activate, and which ones you better switch off to improve the performance of the computer?
There's a few things that I always do in my setup, and that is one is that I try to keep it as clean as possible. And currently, because I'm screen sharing, I normally make larger buttons and everything so that it is viewable for everyone, including those who have smaller screens or lesser eyesight or whatever. So in this case, my screen is pretty crowded already from my point of view. There's two things. One is what you said, the performance issues, and the other one is cleanliness of your working environment. Talking about clean, for example, here I've got my layers panel always open. If I need to use my browser panel, I have that available as well here because I docked them in this way. Normally, if you dock menus, sometimes they're docked this way with a lot of menus stacked on top of each other, and this feels really crowded for me. I prefer to dock them this way and make them switchable. That helps me in organizing my work. Another thing is the layer styling and the processing toolbox are most often in the same way on the right side of my screen. In this case, I switched off the processing, but the processing toolbox and layer styling are similar things I use here. For plugins, you know, there's so many plugins, over 700, near 800 plugins now. So you cannot switch them all on. That would indeed be terrible for the performance on your computer, because whenever you load QGIS, all the plugins get loaded as well. So switch them off if you don't need them. I've got 22 installed, and well, I think 2/3 of them are on currently, but some of them I use more often than others. In this case, I'm not too worried about it, because I've used most of them. I've used last 2 weeks, but I tend to clean up a bit. So for example, the GeoPoint, I just updated that one. That is the Flemish, a similar plugin to the PDOK plugin, but for Flandria. So if you want Belgium data, this is interesting. I've used that because there was a new version, and I wanted to look into that, if that was working better than the old version. Otherwise, I would just switch this one off, because I don't use it on a daily basis.
For this class? Yeah.
For this class, yeah. Miriam?
No, sorry.
Okay. For your purposes, I would say always have the PDOK plugin on. That is an interesting one. The map tiler might be very interesting for vector tiles. It is still a bit work in progress, but it will give you very nice background maps, all available in vector as well. And the map tiler, that's an interesting one. It comes in your browser if you set it up correctly. You see the map tiler, and you see different map layers here. And you could add this as a vector data. So for example, the Cardico dark, and I'll switch off all my other layers first, because I'm not sure.
Clean up the mess.
Yeah, clean up the mess again. Let's see what happens. Python error, of course, a Python error. By the way, I'm not very worried by Python errors, by the way. They tend to come along like every day. Python warnings and Python errors. And that is because all the underlying packages of software that we're using in QGIS, and there's quite a few of them, they get updated now and then, and there are so many things that can go wrong. And most of the software that we use have exactly the same errors, but they just don't give notifications of them. But it's just if one part in one specific area, something goes wrong, QGIS will always come up with a warning. But 9 times out of 10, the warning is kind of a, yeah, you should do something about this, and maybe in time or something like that. It's like, so this is a background map using vector tiles. That means that you can add this as well to your, you can change this a bit. Let's see, where are we? Cardico, here. This is your Cardico setup. And here you can see the built-up area and the water and everything. And you can change these colors as well. And you can switch things on and off. Let's see where the road is. Whatever, you know how to work with this anyway.
Okay. Thanks for this elaboration, Erik. I think this is very useful.
Yeah. And this, the good thing about Cardico is that you have a background map that you can use that is zoom layer dependent. Why do I do this? I don't want to do this. It's zoom layer dependent. Here you see the minimum zoom level and the maximum zoom level. These are in a tile maps, so you can, so it's different than a scale. It is a zoom level thing, more like a Google like thing. But you could also add labels to that. And you can see that there are labels here and they label it a certain zoom level. So if you zoom in close enough, you probably see labels somewhere. This is of course a bad example now. Sorry about that. Why don't they come up? Bloody thing should. Maybe that's the Python error that I got. So yeah, MapTiler is a nice plugin for background maps. The QGIS 2 3GS is interesting for making a small 3D view of your data. Might be interesting. But otherwise, switch them off if you don't use them.
Okay. Good. Excellent, Erik. Thanks for explaining this more. So we can organize a stable environment, and at the same time we can have access to the necessary or essential tools, you could say. I would like to go back to the students, because what we have said for these sessions was that we have provided tutorials, and in these tutorials, they should be used for the current quarter. So I'm really curious how it was used. So could any of the students share a screen and show how they use this for analysis? So who did use it? What did you get out? Because I'm really curious about that. Who is willing to share something? Did you use QGIS now for your quarter for Suet, and what did you do with it? And please share. So can you switch on your microphone and tell us, and then share your screen? Patrick, you switched on your microphone. You have something to share.
Yeah.
Great.
I actually used it a little bit, but just to then later on export it on Illustrator. But I can show you what I did. Just 1 second. I need first to open it. It's gonna take. Well, I have to say I wasn't aware of the geodata way of working. So I'm used to work with shapefiles, and that leads me to cut everything out and create my own shapefile from the GML, and that was a bit of a challenge, because in the GML it results that it is not only polygons, but also there are some lines in it, and so it is unable to save them. I managed to delete the lines. So
you can save the lines as well, but in a different shapefile than the.
Yeah, but they were difficult to find between all that, because it were like multiple layers or stuff like that.
Yeah, within one GML you can do anything, and you have to split that up into separate shapefiles or separate geopackage layers.
Okay, yeah. It's different to how you work in Italy, for example, because we just use mainly shapefiles. So you already are able to download like the data set in shapefile. But we work more on a regional scale. So I'm just talking about Tuscany. I don't know for other regions how it works. So
well, Netherlands is just one region, right?
Yeah, I guess it's more or less the same size.
Yeah.
So it's a bit bigger than Tuscany, but it's close.
Now the thing with the GML is that there are really good reasons to work with GML, but on the same time you come up with so many new issues.
Yeah, I firstly didn't know how to interact with all these multiple geometries, so that was one challenge.
Well, the BGT plugin just cuts it into points, polygons, and line layers, everything. So that really helps.
Yes, I was working for.
Yeah.
Well, because I found something Yeah, typically GIS is not responding. Okay. Well, what I did was to create the areas which were under the use of an ATIS system. So there were the sources for the heat, for the hot and cold water. So I didn't find the shape files, so I had to do it myself. A bit of help with Google Maps where the spots were, and basically I used the map to classify into if it's paved or if it's asphalt or and I lose a lot of time to translate all of that, but that's and I started to build something for the space syntax, but I'm still at a beginning point, so just borders of the buildings to then try to do a space syntax, but I'm still working on that.
There are methods for that. Extrude the information. I don't know if you still use the middle of the road for that, but in the earlier days we used OSM and we took out the middle of the road for the OSM network, and then you have to make legs and nodes.
Okay.
There's a plugin for that.
Yeah.
To create a file able to support like the space syntax.
Absolutely.
Oh, it is, how is it called, the depth map? Because what I was saying is that they just read lines and not geometry, so not polygons. So what I basically started to do is like go around the building with a line, and then my idea was to create like the actual map on the depth map of this one, so that I have the border, and to create a certain area where I could do like the connectivity and visibility evaluation. So, but I didn't try it out yet, so I don't know if it's working. I wanted to do that with a smaller part before I do the wall.
Did you for the contours of the building, did you mean that you actually been drawing the contours?
Yeah, it was very basic what I did, but
if you have a building as a polygon,
yeah,
you can just extract the lines from that in a polygon to line conversion.
okay.
That I think that would be easiest.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. Is there a plugin for that?
Yeah, you have the toolbox open on the right side of your screen.
Oh yeah, you're over it.
Okay. What I normally do is I search and then I look at, for example, a polygon to line. So I start typing polygon and see if I can do oh, there's something perhaps there. Here, polygons to line.
Right.
Oh, there you
go. It is always easier than it looks like in GIS when the tools are working and not crashing.
It's only easier if
so it's buildings.
If somebody shows you. It is never find.
And that was what I was struggling with Corona actually on getting into the Dutch system of GIS, because I have the feeling that wherever you go it's changing a lot.
Yep.
And just by interacting and learning you can get into it.
That's
so
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
thank you. You saved a lot of time.
Yeah, did it work?
Yeah, it looks like.
Oh yeah, that's the greenish line.
It was very fast actually as well.
Wow.
It's just as you have great laptops here everywhere. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
This important thing with these tools, most things you can do with tools. So the manual drawing is only if things are not correct. But further, usually you will have a tool which can automatically convert or generate new shapes, new polygons, etc. And for the roads, probably the same thing counts. You will have the OSM street network, and you can use that to extract the middle of the road and make a line network out of it, and then define the legs and the nodes. And that's what you can use for the space syntax. And with the gebouw, the function of the building,
Wait, how did you say that you were deriving the middle of the road exactly?
Either it's provided by OSM already. There's a file with it.
Yep. That's okay. Because it is really difficult to get a center line from a road if the road is a polygon.
Yeah.
That is you can do that, but it is terribly difficult to do that automatically. So I would suggest taking time to look into a good data set because it will save you so much time if you can find one instead of having to make one.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the most important is to check it, to validate it, and make sure that where the lines, the center lines, are crossing. If you have to say if it's a node or not. So let's say if a highway is crossed by a bike path, then you don't have a node there, of course. But if there's a crossing in the campus area and the bike path crosses the road, you have to make sure that there is a crossing, that there's a node.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing for the space syntax.
I think the NWB has that one.
Yeah, that's the one we're using for it.
Yeah, they have it correctly, so that if they don't connect two roads, it is really two lines crossing, and if they do connect, it is intersecting.
Yeah. But this is preparation, Patrick. So what did you get out of it? So what did you make and what did you get out of it?
Well, it was just collecting information for the map we did for our area and looking for the geothermal stuff, and so it was basically I didn't really get so much information out of the data I found for GIS, but I draw it partially because I didn't find really what I was looking into. So it was more of a designing tool than to later on go to Illustrator. But that's also because I'm still struggling a little bit also with PDOK and looking to the right word or codes and finding the right data. That's.
But you're working in groups. I hope there are some Dutch people in your
yeah.
They can translate it.
Yeah. It's terrible. Everything is in Dutch only. All the data.
Yes, of course, but I had a nice website with some QGIS for Dummies steps, but that's also everything is in Italian, so I guess it's from country to country that it's.
I think the QGIS for Dummies is in multiple languages.
Oh, then it's maybe just my PC that it's translating in that, because as you said about the Rotterdam 3D, there was like the DTM. They used the DTM, and that's quite handy tool to create your own ones, and not to load the whole one.
We've got a question, by the way. There are some people leaving already, and there was one question. Oh, and it's 10 to. Oh, let's see. How do I set filter for heights like the round if roof did? You did that one, Stefan, I think.
Vijay, I'm curious, what kind of filter do you want to make? So what's your purpose? What's your objective? Can you explain that?
I was just following the tutorial that you had done, but then I didn't know how to set those filters.
Okay, I can provide the code for that. What I did indeed is I calculated the netto height. In my case, root 0.95 minus the ground floor level. And then I rounded it. But I can provide the code. Probably can copy it now.
The rounding was up to complete meters, right?
Yes, I rounded it to natural numbers, you could say. And I did that because if the accuracy of 10 centimeters or even centimeter accuracy is not relevant when you make this Rhino model. It will be very, very detailed. So what we did is reduce it to 1 meter steps, because you have to see it as a general model. And even then, the height accuracy, as you have seen before, it's an average of heights. So it doesn't tell you that it's the average of the building. So it doesn't tell you what the exact height of that building is. So when rounding it, it's still okay for this purpose. If, of course, if you're designing a specific street, then you have to dive into the model and to make the exact heights of the part you're designing. Yeah, but for this, I can copy the code.
Is there a place where I could learn the basics of these steps, because I have no clue how to do them?
Yes, of course. I copied the codes from the Toypedia, and I can also provide you the links from Toypedia.
Okay.
Toypedia is a wiki at the TU Delft, and some of these procedures are placed there. But yeah, they're a bit fragmented at the moment, so we will align them. But nevertheless, all the parts I've told you can find on Toypedia. I can also provide that because I copied the codes from there. Okay. Shall I share my screen and go there? Maybe that's the easiest thing to do.
Yes, please.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna use this computer.
So fancy, having more computers to share. Yeah.
Okay, share screen.
Yep, there we go.
There we are. Okay, if you go to wiki.bk.tudelft.nl/Toypedia or search for the Toypedia, but it's the wiki Toypedia at TU Delft. It's a website where you will find written tutorials by different categories, either by subject, by software, or by course. Some of you already found the ON3 course, City and Public Space. And here it's explained how to make a 3D model. And we've updated this a bit. So please follow our video tutorials to do this. But here some parts are explained at least. I have to see
Google Translate is your friend here.
Yeah, this is in Dutch indeed, you're right.
Google Translate everything.
Yeah, okay, I will remember that.
This is a bachelor phase, which is all in Dutch here.
Yeah. There is the by subject, and then you can find, for example, generating a 3D city model. And there's a bit explained as well. Yeah.
This one looks in English.
And then, yeah, this is in English. And in this one, you will see calculating building height from 3D BAG. And here it's explained exactly this. I repeated in my tutorial. So it's about filtering out the valid heights with true. And this is the formula I used to round off to make a new field and round off the height. But of course, you can do it a different way. I mean, I made the decision to reduce it and to limit the number of different heights from the buildings. But of course, if you want to do it centimeter or decimeter accuracy, you're welcome to do that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Does this answer your question? Do you have access to this?
Yeah, I think I have. Can you copy the link to the chat? I can.
I will copy the link in the chat and.
Thank you.
Yeah. But go ahead and have a look at all the other stuff that's at Toypedia, because there's some good instructions there as well, I found. The thing is with the instructions that every time you make a nice setup for a complete instruction and the software changes or the data changes, that it isn't automatically updated. So if you find something that is outdated, well, if you can make a better one, you're most welcome to help and add some to that, or just make some adjustments and send them to Stefan, and he'll know what to do.
Yeah, in the chat you can see the whole list of resources I used from the Wikipedia. But indeed, if you have recommendations how to improve this, you're welcome. For example, the OM3 workflow, which is in Dutch, is from 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, we wrote that sequence, and then as you can see, we have other information now on the subject, but also by software. By software, you will be able to find QGIS, and there's a lot of information here. Yeah. The idea is that what we have done so far for the tutorials for the master now, from QGIS to Rhino, to use that as a thread, as a lead to reorganize the information we have so far, but also update the information.
Yeah. If you look at QGIS tutorials from 5 years ago, you'll find they're in QGIS 2. QGIS 3 is now nearly 3 years old. So QGIS 2 is really outdated. Hardly anyone uses that anymore. Especially in governments, people are slow to transfer from one version to another. But even in the worst of governments in the Netherlands, I found no QGIS 2 anymore last half year.
No, it's spaced out. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions about our tutorials, things you were making for your current project?
In that case, I'll just say you have both our email addresses. If you encounter some issues, don't hesitate to send me an email if you have a QGIS question. Short questions are always, easy to answer things. I'm happy to do. If I really have to look into stuff and spend half a day on something, I'll let you know that this is pretty difficult and I'm not going to do that right now. But short questions with short answers I'm happy to give also in other times.
Yes.
And we have no offices at the moment where you can just barge in and ask, look, I'm with this problem, can you help me out? I mean, we're not doing that at the moment, so well.
Yeah, but we're available online, and that makes it easy as well. So I would say if you have a question, send a question to both of us. So we are aware of the kind of questions you have, and then we can answer them. Is there anything else you need? I mean, we have set up the course by providing these tutorials. We will do 6 10-minute tutorials per quarter. So we will make some additional tutorials if necessary, and we have this workshop. Is there something else you need? No response at the moment. Well, if something comes to mind, send us an email. Yeah. Let us know also about the way this workshop is filled in. Again, we've been beaming a lot. For me, I really like to see if you open up your projects and show us what you're dealing with, because at that time we can immediately interact with you and see how you can improve things, and we can speed up things for you, I hope. And yeah, what I haven't seen today yet is how you have used it for your analysis and design. And that's actually the objective of this whole course.
Yeah.
That provide you basic tools to do the analysis quicker, have better insights for your design strategies. And
I will just give an assignment on the 3rd quarter.
Yeah, I think we do that.
I think we're going to do that. Make you work. Okay.
It's time. So thank you all for joining. If you have further questions, please contact us. And further, yeah, we hope to see you next quarter, quarter 3. We will make some new movies and make assignments for you and organize a workshop. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the session, and it's recorded, so we will put it online. And yeah, okay.
We'll see you next quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.